Commercial Construction Coffee Talk fans, thanks for chiming in. My name's David Corson. I'm the publisher of Commercial Construction and Renovation magazine. I'm also your host for tonight's episode. Who watched the Super Bowl? Not the greatest game in the world, but hey, what are you gonna do? Would have liked to see it a little closer, but hey, congrats to the Bucks. Tom Brady, unbelievable. He'll be in the Hall of Fame. Listen, I'm from Atlanta. They came down when he was with the Patriots and they beat us in the fourth quarter and there went the Super Bowl. So, but the guy's amazing. Some people don't even get to the Super Bowl. He's been to 10 and he's won 7. So I don't even, he needs some more fingers on his hands for the rings. I don't know. And I think he'll go for a couple more years. So, anyway, I didn't watch the halftime. I heard it wasn't that great. I forget what I was doing. I think I was printing stuff, but anyway, glad the game's over. Moving on. Actually, it's lacrosse season now, and my University of Denver Pioneers. I went here. I got my DU shirt on here. We traveled to North Carolina, lost to Duke 12-10 on Friday night. We were winning, and they went on an 8-1 run and pulled it out at the end. And then we got shellacked by University of North Carolina Tar Heels on Sunday. One of the worst defeats ever by my Pios. But back to the drawing board. We got Air Force coming in next weekend back in Denver, and hopefully we'll get back into our winning ways and make it to the big dance. But you can't win them all. Got to learn from your games and see how you can win the next one, and losing's not bad. You just have to take it and move on. So just like the Kansas City Chiefs, they had a great team. They were the champs last year. Hey, nothing to be ashamed of. Hang their heads high, and who knows, maybe those teams will be in the game, the big game next year as well. Tonight, got a great episode. I normally have vendors and architects, contractors, brands, sports people, etc., that are my guests. Tonight, I actually have a resource that I think all of you out there in Commercial Construction Coffee Talk land would like to know. Her name is Miss Nicole Schmidt. She's the CEO of Source, which is actually a digital platform for resourcing all different types of products. I believe they've got 200,000 different products, if I'm correct. Tell me if I'm wrong, with about 2,000 different brands. So if you have any projects that you're working on, you're looking for new stuff and so forth, this is the person that we want to talk to. So Nicole, she's out in one of my favorite towns in Western Canada, in BC, in Vancouver. Nicole, say hello to our listeners.
Hello everyone. I'm originally from BC, and it's just so fun to be able to chat with you and talk with everyone. And now my family and I live in Portland, Oregon, and that's where the company has located. And
my bad on that. Yeah, I got my.
No, it's you know what? I'll be mistaken for a Canadian any day. And like I was joking with you earlier, when wine gets involved, my accent gets a lot thicker. So you'll find out eventually, right?
Well, to all you out there, we were talking about where she was from, Vancouver, and I said, hey, I'm a ski bum, and I went to University of Denver, and my parents had a house in Vail forever. So we were talking about going up to Whistler, and then during the week I would work during the day and keep my skis in my rental car, and then go up to Grouse Copper and ski at night underneath the lights and see Vancouver in the water. And if none of you have ever done that, it is the most amazing view. And driving up from Vancouver up to Whistler Blackcomb, up US 1 or Route 1, it is the most beautiful ride you can ever see. Vancouver is an awesome town. I could totally live there. And anyway, we were talking about it, but that's right, you're in Portland. So
it's all good. That's all good.
So Nicole, this is our gig. You have to tell us your story. We know you're from Vancouver, so you have to tell us, where you grew up basically in Vancouver, if you have any brothers or sisters, what your parents did, where you went to school, how you ended up in construction, and what you're doing now. And so tell us your saga. The floor is yours.
All right. I love it. Well, yeah, so I'm originally from Canada and come from a long history of entrepreneurs and business owners. And my grandfather actually owned a steel company up in Alberta, and that's was probably the first of the construction roots in our family. And then my dad worked for him for a while, and then he had different sales jobs throughout his career. But yeah, I have a big family. There's 5 kids in our family, or of my siblings. So there's 5 of us. And most of us have lived in both the US and Canada now. So I'm one of 3 siblings that lives in the US. And then I have 2 siblings, one's in Vancouver and one's in Toronto. So yeah, we've had a lot of fun as a family, lots of, like I said, those just sort of entrepreneurial roots. And so I went to school in Chicago. When we moved to the States, I had out of state like residency. So I was like, well, if I'm going to pay out of state tuition for college, I'm going to go out of state. And so I lived in Chicago for a long time and, went to school there and enjoyed that. And then eventually moved back to the West Coast and started design. So that's what I went to school for, was to do interior architecture and interior design. And so worked at a firm here, which was really wonderful, and got a chance to travel around and design hotels and resorts all over the country. And it was great. I mean, I just really love the industry, and I love the impact that the built environment can have on your mood, on your day. It's a lot of the spaces we all miss going to right now, right? It impacts us a lot. It's a lot of fun things happen in those spaces. So it was really a great time to be able to have an impact in creating those environments around the country. After that, so after I worked at the firm, I had my own design company for a few years, and then I switched over to the manufacturer side. So I was a manufacturer's rep, I did business development, did some marketing, and really, it was really through like seeing both sides of the industry. I think sometimes as a designer, I wasn't always sure like what happens to the drawings after they leave my desk, right? Like I design it, something happens, goes to bid, contractor tells me something's not working. There's just like all these little information gaps and so many different people involved. So when I became a rep, I really got to see that other side of the industry where it's like, oh, okay, there's like so much coordinating that needs to happen. There's the owner that's involved. There's the contractor. There's, lead times, pricing. There's so many decision points that need to be made. And so that's when I really got the idea to start Source. I was actually in a design library updating their samples, and I was a stone rep at the time. And I had my like box of rocks, and I'm holding it and trying to get it up on the shelf, and dropped it, slipped on some vinyl that was on the floor and dropped it. Like, well, first thing I expletives ensued, but I won't say them here.
Well, we're in construction, we've heard it all. That's okay.
I know, right?
Come on, I gotta love a lady that curses. Come on.
Oh, my husband's an electrician. I think I swear worse than
there
he
you
does.
go.
I make him blush. So yeah, so anyways, I just really started digging into it. I just started digging into the supply chain and like, what does it take to get a faucet from the factory installed in a hospital, right? And it's like all these decision points have to be made. The facilities people have to get involved. Maybe it has to be no touch now. What are all these different stakeholders that have to be involved? And so that's how we started building out Source. So it's really as like a decision management platform. And so we kind of joke that we're like the Amazon of design catalogs, with like the Zapier of design productivity, where you can really bring in a lot of people into one place and make decisions on products based on like millions of data points that we ingest when we're bringing those products onto the platform. So anyways, I'm in this design library, drop the box of rocks on my head, and start really digging into like, wow, this is kind of insane that there's no centralized source, pun intended, for products in this industry, in construction. And so I actually ended up teaching myself to code, and built the first version of our platform myself in my basement. I had a little six-month-old baby at the time, and it was like,
oh my God, we're talking to Bill Gates.
It's like I can't sleep.
We're talking to Bill Gates.
But yeah, I mean, it was just really fun, just understanding, really digging into like, what are the pain points, right? Sometimes it's getting information from your reps, sometimes it's getting samples, sometimes it's transferring that information to your specification documents, to a finished schedule, or whatever those deliverables are, right? So that's where we really hone in really tight on commercial construction, on projects where you do have all those multiple stakeholders, and just really streamlining that. So yeah, that was a couple of years ago, and it was just myself and one other employee for a while, and we've since expanded the team, and we also have a physical library, which has been converted during 2020 to a fulfillment center. And so we're able to drop off, like sort of take that library and created like a flexible on-demand library that we deliver to our customers.
So
Yeah.
how old is Source now?
Source is, we started in April of 2018. So we're just a couple years old, 3 years old.
Hey, you know, I'm curious on what kind of steel your family was in, because my family's in steel recycling construction.
Oh yeah, no, they did like iron workers. So they did like all the, they did all the, just a lot of the like oil pipeline buildings and stuff up in Alberta. So that was a long time ago that Grandpa did that.
So did Grandpa make you work on any of the sites when you were growing up, or when?
No, but there was a never-ending story of how they could only be outside for 10 minutes at a time, because it's so cold in the winter when they're working up there and doing all the work. They'll be outside. I remember my dad and Grandpa would, because my dad actually worked for my grandpa, his father-in-law. Anyway, so yeah, they would just try to, oh, I remember when I was, I almost got frostbite. I was out there for 12 minutes, and yeah. They're great.
Yeah. Well, my family, when you turned 16, I was from Philadelphia. You got your driver's license. You had to go out and work in the scrapyard. So.
Oh yeah.
So I, shoveled asbestos. I put railroad ties in. I did the acetylene torch. We all had to work. If you were a grandson, everybody had to work in the scrapyard. And he was a combat engineer in World War II. But anyway, it started in 1888. It's called Maripolicsburg. It's still in business today. It's like fourth generation. My cousins are running it now. But,
that's amazing. I love that. I just love that so much.
So I come from a construction kind of gig, and and so it
sort of runs in the blood sometimes, huh?
Yeah, so when I hear I'm like, oh, I would love to see her in a hard hat out there and out on the site, giving the men, some of the, hey, you didn't do that right, or
I got my fair share of that as a designer. It's like, well, we did actually specify a different tile, so let's talk about ripping that out.
So you started this platform, this digital library or physical library. Now you got a fulfillment gig going. 2020 starts last year. Everything's cruising along. Bug comes in. Everything gets shut down. Everybody's trying to figure out what they're going to do. 10 months later, here we are now. 11 months. February. The thing's still here, and who knows what with the mutations and all that. How did you deal with the COVID bug, and now kind of coming out of it? Obviously you're in Canada, up in Canada, they've got the regulations and the shutdown, and depending on where you are in the states, every state's got different regulations. But how did it affect your business?
Yeah, so for us, I mean, I think, we did a lot of what everyone else did at the time, which was just, take a step back and like, let's try to use our best judgment that we can at this time to figure out what's going to happen moving forward. And one of the things that we noticed happening early on was that there was just this high and rapid level of tech adoption in the construction industry. Or I should say rapid level for the construction industry, right? So an industry that has been very averse to remote work. A lot of the architectural and construction firms will have servers on site, right? Like we're not the industry that's doing projects in the cloud, right? Where you have servers on site, we're all running Revit, we're all running whatever our software is. And then everybody has to, we all have desktops or whatever, and now everybody has to get a laptop and work from home. So, one of the things that I have been incredibly impressed with this industry about, and what we saw happening early on, was just this rapid tech adoption. It compressed like 5 or 10 years into a few months, right? Where, contractors we're doing site walks on Zoom, right? And we can do it. We never would have done that before because we weren't forced to. And so, I remember, my husband, like I said, he's an electrician. He's a commercial electrician. They, pulls a bunch of wire and does all different sizes of projects, but they all got iPads and started figuring out Bluebeam, and it's like, oh, or whatever software they're using.
Mhm.
And so it's really just trying to, what we saw early on was that there was an opportunity to get ahead of that and really create collaborative decision management, because those conversations that maybe you would have had in the library around a table, what are the materials, what does this project look like, what is this project going to look like, how do we create a collaborative environment, for finishes and for products. And so we use this phrase, phygital, which is like the physical and the digital,
Oh,
right, where
nice.
we have,
I like that.
yes, yeah. So it really is that type of experience now, where it's gone from this analog physical process to being very highly embedded with a digital process. And so we're able to, some of the tools that we built on our software, we're like, okay, let's create a layout table that's a digital layout table, so you can look at the different materials you want. Right from there, you can email your reps, find out what's the pricing on these materials, what's the install, do these have HPDs, are they going to meet the criteria for my lead project. You can download those documents right from there, so you can sort of start making those decisions. And then you're like, okay, this meets most of my criteria, let's get a physical sample of
Yeah, let me
this.
see it. I want to touch it and see
I
it.
want to touch it, right? There's that phygital element that you really do need to touch and feel. I mean, it's the built environment, right? We all want to know, like, what's it going to feel like when it's installed. So
Exactly.
yeah. Yeah. So yeah, so we did a lot of that in the early days. And I think now really what we're focused on is, what is the most flexible solution that we can provide moving forward, because we don't know exactly when this is going to end, how it will end, you know, will some version of this stick around forever? How much is going to be remote, how much is going to be back at the office? And so we're really just interested in building really flexible solutions that allow our users and our customers to, just have a really great experience on our platform, whether they're working with some colleagues at the office, or they're working at home in their basement like myself.
See, I think the whole technological thing has been amazing. You put it
Yeah.
in perfect perspective that uh, everything was squashed into a couple of months where normally it would have taken
Hmm.
years. Just like
Yeah.
some of the stores that were closed or that they had planned to shut down and rebuild new ones or smaller prototypes or whatever it might be. That
Yep.
was just a catalyst to move those things further along. It wasn't a shock that some of the firms I
Yeah.
saw that were closing down stores. I wasn't shocked. They were in the plans anyway. It just
Yep.
moved it so much further ahead. And
Yeah, it's that forcing function, right? It
yeah,
provided that forcing function, that moment of decision making.
and the biggest thing was that I had so many conversations at the beginning with architects, engineers, vendors,
Hmm.
trying to figure out logistical liability plans. What am I going to do if my PM's on the site and he gets
Yep.
sick? Or,
Yep.
how am I going to get done a project in Pennsylvania because the whole state shut down? If you're doing a highway project and you've got a lot of room, you can get that done. But your husband's an electrician. So
Yeah.
if he's in a state doing a project and there's small quarters, you can't get it done. I mean,
Yep.
if you're doing
You're
electrical
phasing
or
crews
plumbing.
out, really different than before.
Yeah,
Yep.
so
Yep.
everybody was going through this thing, but the biggest thing that I heard from a lot of people that they finally realized, like, hey, I don't need to have people come to the office. They can actually work out of their house. Some
Hmm.
people have to go in the office, but I've been out of my house. I had an office, 14 employees, and all that. Now we're all virtual, and I've been working out of my house for a while now. But some people need to work in an office environment, but a lot of people realize that they get rid of the water cooler, gabbing, and meetings go a lot more quicker when you're online on Zoom or whatever platform
Hmm.
that you're using, and that their employees actually don't have to burn gas, they don't have to go through rush hour traffic.
Yep.
They can hang with their dogs or whatever. I mean, I got
Yeah.
5 dogs. My one little dog sits with me all day, and
Oh.
that they're all that they've used technology to their advantage, and that they haven't missed a beat. They've actually become more efficient,
Yep.
and that when if there is ever if this bug ever does leave, look, we still have the flu, we still got
Hmm.
the cold. There's no
Hmm.
vaccines for that, so this might be here forever. We don't know. I'm not a doomsday guy, but I'm a Dale Carnegie guy. What's the worst that could happen? COVID could be here forever. I have no
Yep.
idea. It might mutate
Yeah.
and it could be there. But thing is that the pendulum has swung so far back over to the digital tech side of things that
Yep.
it'll swing back but how far we don't know. Just like myself,
Yep.
I was lucky. I did my event in January 2020. I was really a print face-to-face guy, and all of a sudden, when everything shut down, I was kind of like in limbo. And
Yep.
I remember having my meeting with my artist and my editor. I'm like, "What do we want to do?" He's like, "Let's go digital completely." I'm like,
Yeah.
No, I like having a little print magazine, but we went digital. Now it's, and I had a digital magazine for 10,
Yep.
15 years. I just ignored it.
Yeah.
But then when I looked at it, my SEO guy's like, "Dave, you got 14,000 pages of content. You got all this stuff
Yeah.
here." And I kind of was like, "Oh, wow." So when we made the step over to go to digital, uh, it was amazing. And now we went monthly. We were bi-monthly. I don't deal with the printer anymore. I don't deal with the post office, which is a 5th century outfit. I don't even want to talk about that. And
No.
and but it's amazing of what technology has done. And we just did our
Yep.
virtual summit.
Yeah.
I was supposed to be in Fort Lauderdale in the middle of January. We did our event. It was only a couple hours each day. People loved it. They got to see people. It took a
Yeah.
little time, and the same thing. The internet. Listen, I'm a face-to-face guy. I want to see some of my buds I haven't seen in a while.
Yep.
However, right now we just don't know what's going to happen. So this is just like you and I are talking.
Yeah. Yeah.
Normally I would come, I'd be on the road and I would do one of these. My plan was to do like one podcast a month, and I'd be on a construction site interviewing someone with the mic and the headphones and all that.
Yeah.
That was my plan. Now I do one of these a week,
Yeah. Yep.
and,
Well, and it's interesting because when you were talking about that with the virtual events and things, one thing I've heard from a lot of people that have hosted, like in the past, have hosted in-person events and have done a digital event this year, they're like, actually our turnout went up because people, it was easier for them to commit to a couple hours a day versus, having to take a whole chunk of time off work
oh
and
no, my
factor
my
in
my
travel costs.
events,
And
2.5 days, and
yep,
hotels and the eggs being hot and all that.
exactly.
Now uh it's just and to be honest with you, I think even if it does go back to face, I'm going to let everybody else go and do those events. I think I'm going to stay virtual. I like it. I like
Yeah.
having the little couple hours. You still get the same thing
Yep.
done. And you don't have a ceiling like normally. I would pick a boutique hotel. I'd have a fire marshal,
Yep, exactly.
restriction on the amount of people I could have in a seminar room or in our
Yep.
ballroom for our keynotes and stuff. So none of those
This
things.
way is the endless conference. You can have as
Yeah,
many people on Zoom as you would like.
yeah,
Yep.
and we do one-on-ones. They can record them sessions, so instead of taking notes, you can go back to the videotape. The videotape doesn't
Mhm.
lie. You can hear what they had to say, and
Yep.
so all of those things, even
Mhm.
the digital magazine. It's that's how we came up with the digital. We decide, let's redo the website. Hey, we got this old online directory. It's static. Let's do a mobile app and make it cool. So, all
Yeah.
these little things that you can reinvent yourself and make
Yep.
things easy with technology. It just, listen, it was a terrible thing that happened. I mean, the economy was humming and everything, and some people
Yep.
lost their jobs. The restaurant industry got crushed. Some people passed away. Terrible, terrible.
Yep.
However, on the other side of things, a lot of companies reinvented themselves, learned how to be flexible, learned how to turn on a dime and kind of weather the storm. And
Yep.
now it's pretty exciting, as far as technology. And just like yourself, you're 3 years old.
Yeah.
I remember
Yep.
when I went out on myself. My parents like, "Don't do it, don't leave, you have an expense account, don't do it." And I'm like, no, I'm going to roll the dice. And 9 out of 10 businesses don't do it, but here I am still standing 20 years later. And
Yeah.
I've gone through the internet bubble. I went through
Mhm.
the financial crash with the
Yep.
in '08. So all that go on, and then we had this. And the biggest thing
It's all
here was,
cyclical, right? Yeah.
yeah, I was, the biggest thing here with the COVID was everything really was shut down. There's no planes, there's no, I mean, that was the weirdest thing. And no one really
Yeah.
knew what was going to happen, because
Yeah.
no one really knew what you were getting from the media or the government, because they didn't know what it was. And so that was the biggest thing, when the financial crash, hey, things were still open. Nine
Yeah.
11 yeah, it was a mental thing, patriotism and all that, but still things were still kind of
And
going.
it was expected, right? Like we understood what had caused it and how to recover from it. And so I think that's been, it's something I've heard from, industry folks over and over is just,
Mhm.
what's all the unknown has been really hard, right? So, as much as we can infuse the known quantity back into our lives, that definitely has helped sort of myself and my team and everyone just sort of feel more, more stable in really uncertain times, just knowing like what is known, what do we know, what is, what can we count on moving
What's
forward.
really cool, the reason why I think that, you have a really cool gig going is because you came from a construction family, you were on that design side, you were a manufacturer's rep, so you kind of knew what the whole gig was, and
Mhm.
you've kind of taken all those experiences and put them kind of into one, and now you've got this platform. I've kind of done the same thing. I come from a construction family.
Yeah.
I use my sports background in trying to figure out, winning, losing, learning from how to do things. Uh,
Yeah.
I was in sales and went on the road. I was a road warrior, and now
Yeah.
the only thing is, my prep school English teacher that I'm on Facebook friends with, he laughs at me. He's like, "Corson, you were the worst English student ever. I can't believe you're an editor, publisher." They laugh at me. They're like, "You had the worst 5-paragraph, 500-word essays I've ever seen in my life.
You know
You
what? We
spelled your name
all have
wrong
our
once on your
strengths
paper."
and weaknesses, right?
But I look back, I'm like, hey, that's what molded me. I just wrote my column. I said, my cousin called me.
Yep.
He's like, hey, do you want Grandpa Sid's World War II memorial and the 8mm movies from, the family and the scrapyard when they're burning all the tanks? I'm like, oh yeah, send it on over, And I'm like, I said, all those little things have molded me who I am today. And I always say the
Absolutely.
day I stop learning is the day I should go do something else. So
Yes. Oh, I agree with that so deeply. I love learning and just curiosity and trying to understand. I'm definitely known on the team for being the person that asks the most questions because I'm like, oh, I like tell me more about that. I want to learn. It's like you're not invited to lunch and learns anymore. Like the rep, no.
that. But you know what? I just, I kind of said what, my little thought process. If you were going to leave our listeners with one word
Yeah.
or phrase, what would it be?
I think the thing that has struck me the most this year is just be present. I think there's a lot of talk about adapting or this or that, and for me, it's really about be present. We this has taught me that there's just so much time you have, right? And when I'm working. And when I'm not, I'm with the kids or I'm with my husband. But trying to cross and overlap and have your mind here and there and all those different things at
Multitasking.
the same time, it's you kind of it's harder, right? If you just focus on where you are and what's going on and just be present. And there's so much joy and beauty in the world. So yeah.
Okay, so all you guys out there in commercial construction coffee talk, remember, be present. All right, that's what you want to do. So Nicole,
Yeah.
if there's a brand out there, or contractor, designer, or there's a manufacturer that's not in your platform or your
Yeah.
physical library, if they wanted to get in touch with you, how would they reach out to you?
So best way is you can email myself. It's Nicole, Nicole, at tothesource.com. TOTHE, SOURCE.com. Hopefully I spelled that right. And then you can also just go to our website and there's tons of information on there about how to sign up or how to become a brand partner. And
And
that
that's
is
to the source.com
to
too,
the
right?
source. Go to the source.com.
Okay, so remember that, to the source.com. If you're looking for products, any help or specifications and all that, she's out there on the West Coast to help you. For myself, if you're not a subscriber, go to my website, ccr-mag.com. Up on the toolbar, it says subscribe. Please come in there. We're always looking for new subscribers. If you got any cool stories or projects coming up, let us know. I've got my 4th annual Project Profile Awards coming up in March. If you have anything cool, I post stuff up on the web every day, social media. We'll find something. It's like playing the lottery, though. If you don't buy a ticket, you can't win. If you don't send me something, I can't look at it. So with that said, that's how you can reach me. David C at ccr-mag.com. That's my email, and we'll help you in any way that we can. So Nicole, We want you to
Yeah.
have a great rest of the week out west. We wish you much success in the rest of the
Thank
year.
you.
And thank you so much for the time and in your busy schedule there, with kids, running the business, all that stuff. You're, multitasking.
Oh, it's so
And
fun. Thank you. I
and
appreciate it.
we will get this posted up on the web, and it'll be on our next newsletter that's going out here either at the end of the week or on Monday. And so with that said, we want you to say goodnight from out in Portland.
Good night. Thank you for spending time with us.
Absolutely. And I'm going to say goodnight from Suwanee, Georgia, just north of the ATL up by Lake Lanier. And everybody have a great rest of the week. Have a, spring will be here before you know it, depending on where you're living, in the country. And keep the faith. Remember, wash your hands, don't touch your face, keep knowing your surroundings. You're going to be okay. And hopefully this bug will finally we'll get rid of it. We'll get back to our normal routines. And hopefully maybe I'll meet you soon in person someday. We'll have lunch or breakfast and,
I love it.
And we can talk Canadian. And then,
Yes, I love it. We'll go to Whistler, do some skiing.
Yeah. And actually I've got, before I leave, I have a great picture. I had one of my trips out there. I had hiked up. I'd met with this guy. I'm skiing by myself. So I'm in the singles line, and the guy goes, "Oh, you're American, yeah." And I got the red, white, and blue K2s. Anyway, so I'm skiing with this guy. He goes, "Hey, man, I want to take you up to these." So we take our skis off. We hike up to these rocks. We're at the top of Whistler, and I'm like, "Where's this guy taking me?" And then the view was awesome. We stand on that rock. I'm going to get a picture of you. So my parents had this picture of me in my powder suit. And then we ski down through all these rocks. It was an amazing day.
Oh my gosh, that's amazing.
So the Canadians, they were so nice to the Americano here, And,
yes.
But they were like, because oh, he can ski, man. He can come with us, And I'm like, yeah, well, I've been on skis since I've been 3. I was a bomber when I was in college. Take school classes Tuesday and Thursday and ski, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday, So
yeah.
Anyway.
That's awesome.
Pleasure meeting you. Everybody have a great week. Thanks for chiming in. And we will catch you next time on another episode of Commercial Construction Coffee Talk. Nicole, I'll be in touch. And we're going to say goodnight. We'll talk to you later. See ya.
Bye. See ya.